Okay, good day, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to First Point USA's webinar with Gustavus Adolphus College and specifically their men's tennis program. We're delighted to be joined by Coach Dr. Tommy Valentini, head coach for the men's tennis program at Gustavus, and also Joy Reese from the admissions team. So we're delighted to be working with Gustavus Adolphus College, great partners of ours. And the webinar is really just designed to help our audience get a better understanding of Gustavus and specifically the tennis program, but also we'll talk about some of the admissions opportunities with Joy later on. So we've got a lot of questions to go through with Coach Valentini, a hugely respected coach, hugely successful coach as well. Dominant in their conference, but I'll not steal his thunder too much. So, for those listening in, could you kick off things just by giving us a bit of background for those of us who don't know? So, where Gustavus is located, what the kind of size of college of student population you have, and from an athletic standpoint, what conference and division you play in.
Sure. I'll take the first one, and then I'll turn it over to Coach Valentini to talk about the athletic conference that we're in and continue with the specific athletic and tennis questions. Gustavus Adolphus College was founded by Swedish Lutheran immigrants in 1862. So the oldest private college in Minnesota. Since our humble roots in the beginning, the college has grown and expanded. We have roughly 2,000 students, which means our incoming first-year classes are going to be between 550 and 600 students overall. We really specialize in the classroom by making that environment very individualized, and we can do that because we typically limit our classes to about 15 to 17 students per class. So a very hands-on experience for our students and our student athletes here. Intercollegiate conference, Tommy, I can turn that over to you for the MIAC part of it, unless, Ross, there was another general information question that you'd like me to answer first.
No, that sounds great. Thanks for kicking things off, and we'll come back to you later on.
Sure.
Yeah, so at Gustavus, we compete in the Minnesota Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, also known as the MIAC, one of the premier Division III conferences in the country. Depending on the sport, we have about 10 and gender, about 10 to 11 institutions that compete in the MIAC, all smaller private colleges, all within the boundaries of the state of Minnesota. And we feel very, very grateful to be in very good company in terms of the quality of academic institutions in the league, as well as the incredible caliber of student athletes across all the sports in the MIAC.
Great, thanks for that. And Coach Valentini, you've been in your role for a number of years, and you've also got a pretty distinguished playing career as well as your coaching career. If you could share a little bit of your insights on your own both student athlete playing career and your coaching career with Gustavus.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Probably a little too kind. I was really lucky to be, a decent player on a great team with incredible players and incredible, even more so, even better people. My lifelong most dear friends are the ones that I played with here, and I'm really grateful that our experience here playing changed our lives in a way that now that the college playing experience is over, we still are doing life with each other 20, 25 years later in the most meaningful ways. So, I mentioned that just because I think it speaks to the type of experience that we try to create and promote, and the environment that we try to do it in here at Gustavus and in our program. so, and the other piece of that is I was really lucky to play for and then take the reins from one of the legendary coaches in all of collegiate sports in the history of collegiate sports in the U.S., a guy named Dr. Steve Wilkinson, who was my coach and my mentor, one of the pioneers of Division III college tennis here in the States. And still the winningest coach in all of college tennis, men or women, any division in the NCAA. So he did it here for 39 years. I was fortunate to come along in the later stages of his career with my best buddies and had a wonderful experience learning and playing from him. And then got to take over in 2009 as head coach and try to continue our tradition.
A great legacy that he's left then. And you're very much the dominant force in MIAC then. So what is it that makes you, or you, the team and the roster of the program stand out against other teams in the conference?
Yeah, I mean, we there's no doubt we've been very fortunate to have some really meaningful and sustained results. I think the first thing is it started with Coach, in the late 70s and early 80s when he took over as tennis coach, bringing in the highest caliber of people who are wanting to learn and wanting to grow and wanting to have tennis be an important part of that when they're doing their college educational experience, and a really values-based approach to doing tennis and doing life. And I think that's been the key to the sustained success, on the court. Certainly we're trying to win. We prioritize, in a number of ways, result-based success. We want to win every time we play, whether that's in the league or regionally or nationally. We've been fortunate to have national championship teams and singles players and doubles teams here at Gustavus over the span of the last 50, 60 years. But quite honestly, we don't have winning at the top of our list of priorities. The top of our list of priorities is learning and living out our values, which are what we call the three crowns: the choice to give your best effort, the choice to have a positive attitude, and the choice to operate with the highest standard of sportsmanship. And we feel like if the people in our program learn those values, learn what they mean and the nuances of them, and then have the support and the courage to live them out no matter what the circumstances, the rest hopefully puts us in a position to have it be taken care of in terms of the results. And I think that type of freedom that we try to create from the result and the pressure, I think paradoxically often leads to getting to a place ability wise and level wise that puts us in position to play pretty well when it matters, and when the bigger results are in the balance.
It's great values to live by then, and clearly having a spin-off on and off the court then. So could you tell us just about some of the kind of key achievements, both regionally and nationally, and maybe give us an idea of where Gustavus would sit in the national rankings?
Yeah, I mean, I think Division III is obviously the largest division of the three in the NCAA, and larger than the NAIA as well, in terms of the number of participating schools in tennis, for sure. But I think across most, if not all, sports, and so yeah, we are traditionally in that top 10 to 15 to 20 range. Sometimes we've since 2017 we've been to the national quarterfinals, so in that top 8 a couple times. We have 2 team NCAA national championships in our history. We have a handful of ITA National Division III indoor team championships, which is the other large team national championship in college tennis. And then just as recently as 2024, the NCAA doubles champions are a pair of golden Gusties as well. So we've been really lucky to have success at the national regional level. All-American honors in the hundreds, I think, and a long run in the conference as well. But really, so I think where we're positioned in terms of numbers or percentages is in the top couple percent of programs in Division III in the country. competitive, certainly at the lower end of the D1 level and in much of the D2 level, depending on the opponent and the caliber. And so I think the rating systems, UTR, WTN, sort of make this a little more, have a little more concrete data behind that, in addition to just the rankings in Division III. But like I said, in general, those things are really important to us and get us on the map and hopefully get people, to look at us and get in the door. But it's really, the values and the philosophy of the program and the relationships within it amongst the people who play here that make it what it is.
Yeah, it sounds like a great place to play tennis. And does that success translate for men's and women's tennis, Coach Valentini?
Yeah, our women's program is just tremendous as well, and has been for a long time. Nationally ranked, national champions. Our women's coach, John Carlson, is the winningest coach in Division III women's tennis history. He's been coaching the women's program since the early 90s. Has had national champions in doubles and singles, and has coached a national championship, NCAA championship team. And just a phenomenal program in every regard there as well.
Fantastic. And obviously we have, this will be shared with aspiring college tennis players from all over the world. And for those that might not be familiar, within Division III specifically, then how is your season structured? Obviously you mentioned that there's the indoor and outdoor season. Can you just give us a bit of an insight as to how the year pans out for tennis players?
Yeah, since the pandemic, there's been a little bit of adjustment in terms of how we count our structured, organized time with the team. So that's made it vary potentially a little bit, but I think almost all of our colleagues are doing something similar in that you've got a shorter fall season, which consists in most cases of predominantly individual competitions, where you compete for your institution, but in individual tournaments or flighted tournaments or things of the kind. A few team dual matches there, probably a little bit more on the women's side. You'll see some dual match conference seasons happening. For the most part, though, you're looking at the start of the school year through sometime in October, where then you go on a little bit of a break for sort of an in-between season time. Depending on number of counted days, you might have some formal time in the back half of October, November, and the early part of December. Then home for the traditional holidays, and then back for us, mid to late January. I think this year it's about January 15th, and then back to the spring. So then the back half of January, February, March, April, and hopefully as long as we can take it into May for what's known as the traditional season, and that's dual matches with your team and a team match against another team.
Thanks for that. Good information.
With the NCAA championships being the culmination of that
Sure.
spring season. Yeah,
and you're generally in them then.
We hope so. Yeah, it's that's the plan. You never know how it's going to materialize, but that's one of the goals. Great.
We wish you every success with the season ahead. And a lot of the time when we're talking to potential athletes internationally, the big attraction is the facilities on offer within US athletic programs. Can you talk to us about your own tennis facilities specifically? And you've got the Wilkinson Tennis Complex. I know you have some pretty impressive facilities there. I'm sure the audience would like to hear about those.
Yeah, I mean, I think you asked earlier about what's contributed to that sustained success, and certainly it's our philosophy and our culture and the caliber of player and more importantly, human being that we get into the program. But the facilities are a huge component there as well. We've got 12 brand new outdoor courts on our campus, a few minutes walk from any of the dormitories and accessible to all of the campus. And then just a few steps away on the same footprint, we've got the Swanson Tennis Center, That's a state-of-the-art indoor, 6 indoor courts with live streaming and classrooms and everything you could hope and dream for. It's an air structure, but it's 80 feet in the center, with indirect lighting, and I think we've been the host of 10 or 11 national Division III indoor team championships. And it's really one of the only ones of its kind, and certainly one of the only ones of its kind in Division III. And so that not only affords us the opportunity to practice in the season if we get inclement weather, or to play matches, if the conditions aren't suitable outside. But then when we're not in season, that building's open to all of our students, which means the young men in our program and the women in the women's program have access to it on a regular and continual basis, so that they can be working on a real tennis court with each other on their games, even when we're not in the in-season structured times. And that's really been another key to furthering their experience, having a beautiful state-of-the-art home filled with real tennis courts, not approximations of tennis courts, and then just for them to enjoy the game and work on their game and make strides, between when we're done in the middle of October and when we start up again in January. So that's what they're up to right now.
Fantastic. And I'm sure they hold great appeal for any aspiring athletes watching this. And then I guess beyond the courts, obviously that's playing as one side, but training and your S&C programs and fitness play a huge part. Can you talk to us just about, again, what facilities and some of the support staff that are available to the athletes?
Yeah, we feel so fortunate at Gustavus, the support that all of our programs have, for whether it's our athletic training staff, who are just wonderful and take such great care, more on the medical side, of what's going on whether it's day-to-day treatment, or whether it's working on rehab or prehab, or if there's an acute injury. A few years back, we had one of our national champion doubles players, had a grade 3 high ankle sprain, about 4.5, 5 weeks out of the NCAAs, and we had no thought that he would even be capable of playing. And thanks to his work ethic, but the guidance of our athletic trainers, we were fortunate to get him back and holding an NCAA championship trophy when his initial diagnosis was he'd still be in a walking boot and not swinging a racket at that time. So we feel really lucky to have that expertise here. Troy Bance and his staff, he's our director of sports medicine, and his staff are just incredible. And people that have worked with us there have just take the best care of our student athletes. But then we also have a great relationship with ETS Sports Performance, and they provide our strength and conditioning coaches. And so, whether it's in season or out of season, our guys are in our brand new $30 million renovated Lund Center, strength and conditioning center. And then we have the strength coach staff in there working with them. Obviously there's various stages of the competitive season and the off season, and the programs vary over time, but they're with us every week for the physio side of the training. And so we feel really lucky to have those two wings of the support staff helping us out in a big way.
Sounds great. So certainly any athlete going with you guys is going to be very well looked after, which is great to hear. And one of the questions that always comes up, and we ask all the coaches that we speak to on our webinars, is what a typical day in the life of a student athlete looks like. And I guess being a D3 school, huge focus on academics, obviously. What would a kind of in-season day look like for a student athlete tennis player?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, obviously it varies depending on, Mondays and Tuesdays earlier in the training week look a little different than Friday or a match day on a Saturday or Sunday, where we might have, 3 different groups of Gustavus tennis players out playing in 3 different places at the same time, given the size of our roster. So, but a typical day of training would be, if it's a day where we've got a strength and conditioning workout, that's going to happen in the morning, probably about 7 or 8 a.m. before class. The guys will get breakfast together and then off to class, and that can go anywhere from 8 to 3:30 if there's a lab. Usually there's breaks. They're not all concurrent throughout the course of the day. But then our staff actually runs the same practice twice in our facility, so that if guys are done with class by a certain time, usually it's about 1:30 in the afternoon, they can fit into a practice grouping then. And then it allows us to keep our numbers lower and give each guy more attention during the practice session. And then it also allows us to run the second practice so that if you have a late lab or a late class or a seminar or something going on with work study, you get full access to the same tennis practice and being with your teammates, and getting your training in on a day, not having to work it around your academic calendar for the day. And so some guys will have, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, where they've got, 4 classes, bang, 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 bang in a row, and they're in it all day until they get to practice, obviously with time for lunch and pre-practice preparations in there. Other times they'll have maybe 1 class on a Tuesday or a Thursday if the schedule dictates, and then they've got a little bit more time to maneuver. They'll be in the early practice. And then we've always got space in there during the day for them to come in and work with our staff one-on-one individually on more of the technical side of things, if that's what they have time and space and energy and resources for. So that's usually a typical day. We're done with practice. That first group's usually done about 3:30. The second group's usually done about 5:30 or 6. And then the guys sit at the same table in the caf every night, all together, and have dinner and then spend time with each other and their colleagues in the student body. And then a lot of homework usually, and watching sports on TV and then shutting it down and getting ready to perform again the next day.
Great. So very much a full-on schedule, but that element of flexibility and depending on the demands in the classroom again, which is great. So
exactly, that's a great way of saying it. Yep. Yeah.
So from a recruitment standpoint, then for anyone, interested in Gustavus and your program, then what would be the qualities that you would be looking for, both academically, athletically, and from a sort of personal perspective?
So yeah, it's a great question. I mean, there's no doubt there's a baseline level of playing ability that we're looking for, and we would go through that both in terms of their ratings, their film, what the folks at First Point have to tell us, what we can learn from coaches. If we can get a chance to see them play in person, obviously that's the ideal, but doesn't always happen and isn't as necessary now as it used to be. And so just given the rating systems and we can see highlight tapes and we can see match footage. So, certainly it's a certain level of playing ability and athletic ability, I think, and then, but in addition to, and almost more importantly than that, do they fit in well here academically? Are they going to be able to balance the academic, the academic rigor with being a committed member of the program? And our values, quite honestly, are designed to help them do both at the same time. We don't think that the tennis is tacked on to their experience. We look at it as all one experience and all educational for them and all things that are going to make them better at whatever they want to be when they grow up. And we're playing a part in that development, everything we do. So we want to make sure they're willing to be great teammates. They're willing to be a part of something bigger than themselves. We want to make sure they're willing to explore and give their best effort. We want to make sure they're willing to choose to be positive. Not that they're going to say that everything's going to go well for them all the time, but that no matter the circumstances, they're going to be committed to choosing a positive approach. And then we want people of the highest character that care about others. Sportsmanship is a massive priority for us. We've stopped recruiting people who we didn't think had the capacity to take up our priority of playing with the highest standard of sportsmanship. That doesn't mean they're going to get it perfect all the time, but it does mean we want people that are committed to that being a part of their journey and their learning. So, people often ask, are you looking for a number? I mean, not specifically. We want as many people who are committed to our values and our culture that can play really good tennis as we possibly can get.
That's great advice and great information for anyone looking to apply then. And final question before we pass on to Joy, and we'll come back to you with a couple of questions at the end. And you've kind of talked about the culture, I guess, that sort of close team bond. You're obviously a small college as well. What would you describe as the overall culture of the athletics department as a whole at Gustavus?
Again, we feel just so lucky to be a part of a place where athletics are valued as a fundamental part of the athletic experience. I think probably 30 to 40% of our most recent incoming class overall were recruited student athletes and are a part of rosters across 23 sports in our department. So it's a huge part of the fabric of what makes Gustavus. And I think that combination of both trying to pursue excellence in terms of our results, but also pursuing the development of high character, very thoughtful, responsible, wonderful young people that are going to go out in the world and make a huge difference, not only with their own life, but other lives. That's what we're trying to do at the same time. And I think all of our programs do it a little bit differently, but I think that's the umbrella that we're all underneath and that we're all pursuing. And so I think what it really leads to is it leads to a lot of camaraderie and support. You'll see men's tennis players, at the volleyball match tonight, and you'll see them at the hockey and basketball games this weekend, and you'll see football and baseball players and soccer players out to watch us play at the National Indoor Tournament in February here. So everybody supports each other. I think we all get a lot of care and respect. I think there's some other institutions where there's a sport or two that sort of reigns supreme over the others at particular institutions. And I think that balance and those relationships are top priority here at Gustavus. And then I think our student athletes really understand that their athletic experience is a valued part of their overall experience. And so I think we're really grateful for that. We're grateful to be a tennis program in that environment. And I think some of the neatest relationships that we have here are amongst athletes from different teams. And I sort of have a unique perspective on that. So I teach in the philosophy department and teach courses in philosophy of sport and philosophy of competition and sports ethics. And so I oftentimes have those classes filled with student athletes who are not tennis players, but from all the other sports, and to see them be with each other in the academic environment and the overall environment is quite a thrill.
That's great. It sounds like a fantastic environment to be a part of. So thanks for that. So moving on to Joy, we'll kind of talk more generally about Gustavus and the campus. So again, kicking off with for any international student who maybe doesn't have an awareness of where you are and what you guys are all about, what is campus like life for a student at Gustavus?
Sure. Well, we are about an hour south of Minneapolis-St. Paul, the Twin Cities area. So we're in the Minnesota River Valley in St. Peter, Minnesota. When I first started recruiting many, many years ago, people didn't understand the Midwest wasn't a place you just flew over to get from New York to California. There's this very rich, beautiful scenery, cultures, cities, and we are one of those. And it's a smaller community, about 12,000 people overall in St. Peter. And then, like I mentioned before, around 2,000 students within Gustavus itself. Definitely 4 seasons here. So we're in the midst of fall right now, beautiful colors. It is a breathtaking view. And sometimes I think we can take it for granted if we work here a lot and drive up that hill every day and forget to look out and enjoy just visually what Gustavus has to offer as well. So it's really designed for students who are looking to experience that 18 to 22-year-old time in your life where you are just learning and growing and discovering your passions and immersing yourself into new passions, or, getting refamiliarized with old ones, inside and outside the classroom. There's just not a lot of distraction off of our campus. It is a vibrant community here where students can really immerse themselves in that traditional college experience.
Yeah, certainly looking at your Instagram pictures there, it does look incredible in the fall. So a beautiful place to be, certainly at this time of year. And I guess for maybe more for the kind of parents out there who tune into this, looking at the kind of cost of attendance, then can you give us an idea of approximate total costs across tuition fees and accommodation and that sort of thing?
Sure. And I always tell parents, whether they're international families or domestic families, schools will package their financial aid offers differently. Many schools do just billable totals, which means they're just going to show you the number of what they're actually billing you for. Whereas Gustavus will do an overall cost of attendance, which is very, very important. So you understand that there are no surprise fees later on, right? So in that overall cost of attendance, we're going to account for $72,858. That is going to include your tuition, your room, board being your meal plan. We also, for our international students, will add in visa processing, I-20 paperwork, travel, whether plane tickets. We try to anticipate any costs that our international families will have and put that in the overall cost of attendance. That will obviously vary from student to student, from country to country, from, personal needs, wants. So a lot of times students will come in with paying a little bit less than what we put up there as well, just because, as I said, we like to anticipate every possible cost that a family could incur.
Absolutely. And again, for those maybe not familiar, obviously in D3, there's no athletic scholarships available. What opportunities are there for other financial aid opportunities that you may have for a student athlete or otherwise?
Right. Thank you for mentioning that we cannot give the athletic scholarships, being in violation of NCAA Division III. That's uniform across the board in the United States. And so how we try to compensate for that is with larger academic scholarships. So we have what's called the Count Folke Bernadotte, very Swedish named scholarship, sort of an homage to our roots, right? For $20,000 to $40,000 per year. So students will typically see between that $20,000 to $40,000, with that median range being usually around $36,000, $37,000 is what students get. That is dependent upon the student's transcripts, how they've, first and foremost, how they have done in their university classes. We're also going to look at some extracurriculars. If they list that, athletics comes into play there. Extracurriculars being music, athletics, community service, church, anything that they've been a part of, we encourage them to put on the application as well. And then our international students are guaranteed a job here on campus employment, which I'm sure most of Tommy's roster has, or Coach Valentini's roster has. The students are working student employment at some point in time during the week, and that's up to $4,000 US dollars a year. 10 to 12 hours a week, completely structured around their class and their class and extracurricular schedule.
Great, thanks for that information. That's very helpful. You've already touched upon living in St. Peter. In terms of the kind of wider area of Minnesota, then obviously a lot of the applicants here or aspiring tennis players might be big sports fans. What other big sports are around about to go and watch? And I'm sure people want to, when they come over to the States, add a few to the or tick off the bucket list. Then what would be on the bucket list in your surrounding region?
Yes, I smile because we are very passionate about our major league sports teams here in Minnesota. most famously the Minnesota Vikings. I think they played a few exhibition games the last few years over in
regular season last couple weeks.
Yeah, regular season, right? So again, that is probably our most well-attended, well-watched sport are the Vikings, which seem to disappoint us every year come playoff time. But, we're Minnesotans. We believe eventually that we'll get there. We'll get to that championship game. So, and then actually one of your students you worked with at First Point, who is a first-year student here, who also plays for Coach Valentini, he and his family are huge Timberwolves fans now after their time at the games, and they've sent me selfies at Timberwolves games, and I love that because I'm a huge Timberwolves fan as well. That's our NBA basketball team, and then our MLB baseball team, the Minnesota Twins as well. We also have professional women's teams, the Minnesota Lynx. We have a professional soccer team. So really there's something for everyone here. And being the Twin Cities is an hour away, we do have a shuttle that goes from a neighboring town of about 60,000, which is Mankato, through St. Peter up to MSP Airport. Also, the Mall of America is a big draw up there, which was the largest indoor mall in the United States. So we are in great proximity to a lot of very exciting things with access to get there.
Brilliant. Sign me up. I'm there already. And then moving away from sport then into, unfortunately, most people have to go out and earn a living once they've finished studying and playing, unless you go into professional sport. So what do you offer in terms of kind of internship programs and postgraduate employment opportunities and that focus on the next step beyond studying?
Sure. So we just revamped our calendar year really within the last couple of years. Last year was our first year we moved from a January term to a May term. And so what that means is from September through December is our first fall semester. And then from mid-January through the end of April ends our spring semester. And then we have an optional month of May where students can travel abroad for the month with Gustavus themed classes and professors throughout the world. They can do an internship during that month. They can do a career exploration. They can do a community service engaged project. Or they can do a research project, an undergraduate research project with the help of a professor. So that's how the year is set up. And students have to do one of those signature X experiences, and they can do that first semester, second semester, or May term in their 4 years here. Otherwise, what we find is that 60% of our students will study abroad. Equally as much, or if not more, do an undergraduate research project. Some majors are more geared towards that than others, but that is very much a part of the experience as well as participating in those community service engagements and internships. Minneapolis-St. Paul has the largest number of corporate headquarters in the United States of America. So in terms of matching up students who are business interests here, there's great opportunities up there. We have Mayo Health System, which is the second most prestigious hospital in the world behind Johns Hopkins. And so for our medical-minded students or students in the pre-health professions, that is an option. The goal is really to build that resume outside the classroom as well. It's not just about the classroom piece, which is important, but how do we craft your experience and your resume to make you the most marketable? Our job statistic is 99% of our students are placed within 6 months after they graduate, either at a medical, law, or graduate school, either in a career of choice or volunteering in a nonprofit organization such as the Peace Corps or Teach for America or other programs located around the globe. So that can be done because of that individualized experience, because of the close attention of not only the professors, but our music conductors, our coaches, really working with each student to find the most successful path for them. And they collaborate with each other. So if a tennis player needs to miss a class for whatever reason, The professors understand that. Coach Valentini is communicating with professors, and it's a system that all works very, very well together. Advisor piece, I think, is very important. So 11-to-1 is that student to faculty ratio, which means that your advisor is working with you and only 10 other students to sit down with them each semester to craft their class experience, their internship experience, all within that 4-year time frame.
Yeah, so very, very individualized. That's great to hear. And what would be is there a particular academic strength at Gustavus? I know you've obviously touched upon business and medical and law. What would be the kind of one that you would be most renowned for, or would it be kind of balanced across them all?
We are very, very balanced. Many, many years ago, I could have given you, our stronger programs, but over the years, I think we've really taken this balanced approach. I can give you some programs are larger than others, right? So business, our business management, sports management, economics and accounting programs have the largest numbers of students there, typically the nature of just what students are looking to go into. Again, biology, biochemistry, chemistry tend to be kind of our second largest majors. I'm humanities partial. So for me, I think we have phenomenal professors within some of the smaller departmental numbers, which would be history. Coach Valentini teaches in philosophy, our classics department, our religion department, real intentional, thoughtful professors who work across majors, and many of our programs work across majors. So that's the beauty of a liberal arts, is that students are exposed to different schools of thought and different areas. So my best answer would, I guess my long answer longer is it's a very balanced approach across the majors.
Great. Thanks for that.
I think another piece of that too, Ross, is that there's also so much room for exploration and double majoring and minoring. And so we've had, tennis team members who've been, in philosophy and finance. We've had, business and biology, with the hopes of going to dental school and then running your own dental practice, right? I mean, it really, you see the opportunity for not only interdisciplinary work, but multiple opportunities to just really help them grow and learn as much as they can, and take advantage of the liberal arts, to work with what makes them curious, and also balance that with what they want to do, at least what they think they want to do when they get out of here. So it really is a unique, I think, environment, in that you don't need to show up here knowing what you want to do from day one and pursue that and that only. It's really geared towards your overall learning process and project, with also a great deal of support to help you look into exactly what you said earlier. When I leave here, seemingly I'm going to need to either go to more school or get a job, right? And so we want to be setting people up for that as well, and we really, really work to do both and.
Great, thanks for that, and great to get that appreciation of the academic side and the campus and location from Joy there. And we'll come back to you with one final question, Joy. But moving back to Coach Valentini, then just a couple of more questions. Then pretty hard to single one individual out, but if there was someone you could pinpoint, I guess, as a great Gustavus ambassador, either as a tennis player or beyond the professional career, could you give us an example?
Oh man, I mean, I've spoken a little bit about our Coach Wilkinson, who really is, certainly the reason why, I'm here doing what I'm doing. And I think thousands of us would say the same thing for how we were taught, and what we were taught, and the empowerment to go into the world and try to bring those values there. I'd say a teammate and best friend of mine who I played with here at Gustavus, who's really taken our values beautifully into the world and the world of sport, who has some recognition in the tennis circles is a guy named Eric Buderak. He's a member of the class 2003, a national champion in singles and doubles here, and a psychology major who went on to play 15 years on the ATP World Tour, made the finals of the Australian Open in 2014, beating the number 3, 2, and 1 teams in the world along the way. But probably more importantly and equally meaningfully, became the president of the ATP Tour Player Council after serving as the vice president to Roger Federer for a few years there, and really just made an impact on the game. And I think would tell you his Gustavus education, both in terms of tennis and in our program and with coach, and our teammates and our culture, but also because of his educational background here, was able to move into not only a world traveling, high level playing career because of his experience here, and how that influenced him, but also to a leadership role amongst his peers in a global sport that required a lot of communication and listening and understanding and so forth. And now, a few days after his playing career ended, he moved into a prominent role with the USTA, and both on the business side and the operations side, helps run the US Open now for the USTA, and was the mastermind and the driving force behind the revamped mixed doubles that you all saw at the US Open. Was one of his main projects this last year. So, someone who's taken our values and the Gustavus education experience, both academically and athletically, and use that to have a pretty big influence. We call him Booty around here. He's been pretty amazing in those regards, and he's an even better friend and better teammate and better human being than he is at any of that other stuff. So I think he speaks to what Gustavus is all about.
It's a great example, and one to look up for any tennis fans out there, certainly. And final question for you then, Coach Valentini, if you're obviously we've got lots of aspiring tennis players out there considering a move to the US, and hopefully we can introduce you guys to a few first point tennis athletes. What would be kind of one or key pieces of advice you would give someone who's at this kind of starting point of that journey?
I mean, obviously we know it's a massive undertaking to go through the journey, and probably an even bigger decision to make the jump to come over and study and play. And we don't take that lightly. We understand what a commitment it is to even go through the process, let alone, take the step to come over here and study and learn, and play and spend the next chapter of your life with us. I think really for me, it's looking for the total package of academic excellence and a tennis or a sports experience that's going to contribute to your growth and your learning and your relationships and fit together well, and not be at odds with one another, I think is a huge bit of advice. And then a second piece is understand what's going on with the relationships at the places in the place where you're headed. At Gustavus, you're going to be a part of a community where people care deeply about you, where we can, very confidently tell your folks who are going to fly over with you in August and see the campus and drop you off, and then jump on a plane and fly home and leave you with us, that we're going to take great care of you, and you're going to be put in a position to take great care of others. And you're going to have every opportunity to thrive here in ways that are going to change your life.
That's great. Well summed up, and it sounds like you would be in really good hands there. Someone who's very passionate, clearly, about their players. Joy, final one for you then, and in a similar vein. So, international students looking at Gustavus, what advice would you give them? I guess at the start of the application process, and what kind of aspects of their non-athletic lives would they need to work on?
Sure. I always tell my international students that it's not about us trying to sell a place to you. The whole college search process is really about you finding the best fit for yourself. And you need to keep that in the forefront. And that's what we do here. If there's a part of the process where I feel like a student isn't a great fit or would do better somewhere else, I'm very candid about that, because we want students to take this time of their life to really find a great fit for the next part of their life, right? So I always say during your university years, which, you know, in Europe is your high school years, right? So your gymnasium years, depending on whatever country you're located in, to challenge yourself with good classes, but not overwhelm yourself so your grades suffer. We definitely are looking at the types of schools students are attending, private academies, what kind of classes they're taking. We get an academic profile from the different school or resource counselors of the curriculums offered there. So we're looking at, first and foremost, students challenging themselves in an appropriate way, and what grades they're getting while they're doing this. We're also looking at their extracurricular involvement, sports, as I said, music, theater, dance, visual arts, work. All of that stuff really goes into our holistic admission, where we are really looking at you as a whole. And that's how we continue to develop you at Gustavus, you as a whole person. We're developing global citizens. I think it speaks to this place that and I keep slipping and calling Coach Valentini Tommy, and then I have to switch back. So I apologize for the informality there. We have known
We're classmates.
We're classmates. We have known each other a very long time, and we graduated a long time ago. And we have a repertoire, and I think it speaks to the fact that we both went out and pursued different graduate degrees, traveled a lot, and came back home. This felt like home. And so it's a testament, I think, to what this place is. You know, in regards to the application as well, we do need students and families to prove the ability to pay $32,800 a year minimum. So that has to be proven as part of the admission process. And we ask for bank statements, tax returns, things like that as part of it, along with the transcripts and the Common App. And then we look at it all together. We admit, do the initial scholarship award, and we start working on the next part of the process with our students.
Thanks again. That's great. And again, a lot of information to take in, but it's been very, very informative, certainly for me and for those who are going to be watching this. So yeah, just to sum up, really appreciate the time you've taken to talk to us on this webinar. Gustavus Adolphus College does sound like an amazing place to be. Very much that, you know, that kind of intimate, personalized approach, great balance between academics and athletics, and obviously the tennis program success philosophy that Coach Valentini talked about speaks volumes. And I think that the passion that you both display for your school really shines through. So that's clearly going to come across for anyone who's interested in going, that you're certainly going to be well looked after, and it's going to be a great place to live for you the next part of your life, whether it be 4 years or more. So thanks to you both for taking time out. It's been great listening to you and getting your insights from both your perspectives, and I'm sure we will speak to you again and look forward to hopefully introducing you to more international students from First Point USA. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you.